Chosen one, an urgent call is reaching directly toward you at this very moment, because there is one final thing connected to the mother who has departed from this world that you need to hear with both calmness and an open heart. My beloved child, slow down for a moment and do not allow fear to lead you. I am Michael, and I have not come to drive you into panic over a brief deadline, nor have I come to tell you that the love of heaven will disappear if you are a moment too late. I have come to remind you that there are moments in life when a memory, a longing, or a word that was never spoken can rise so powerfully that you can no longer continue avoiding it. Today may be such a moment. What you need to receive is not pressure to prove your faith, but the courage to face a gentle truth. Your mother has gone, but the love she left behind was never buried with the passing years. There are words a mother longs to say, but never has the chance to form into sentences. There are things she keeps within herself, not because she wishes to hide them from you, but because life is sometimes too short, the days are too crowded, and the wounds within the heart are too deep to be opened easily. Perhaps she once wanted to apologize for the times she did not understand you. Perhaps she wanted to confess that she saw you trying harder than she ever showed, or to tell you that she was proud of you, even though the two of you never had one complete and honest conversation. It may also be that the final thing she wished to give you was not a great secret, but simply the affirmation you have always longed to hear. You were never a burden. You never disappointed me. You were loved more deeply than you were able to feel while I was still beside you. I know you have often wondered whether you missed an opportunity to do better. You remember unfinished conversations, silences that lasted too long, and words spoken in anger that became scratches which never fully healed. There were nights when you wished you could return, only to hold your mother one more time, offer an apology, or sit beside her without needing to say anything at all. But listen to me in peace. True love is not measured by the final conversation, nor is it erased by one moment of weakness. Your shortcomings do not have the authority to rewrite the entire bond between the two of you. A life can contain both tenderness and pain, closeness and distance, yet that does not mean love never existed. Therefore, the final message that Mother may wish to send you can be held within one very simple truth. Stop punishing yourself. You have carried too many unanswered questions and too much regret, believing you must keep them as a form of punishment. You blame yourself for not being there more often, for not recognizing the signs sooner, and for failing to say what needed to be said while there was still time. But my beloved child, a grieving heart often sees only what it missed and forgets what it once gave. You were present in the ways you knew how to be. You loved with the capacity you possessed at that time. You, too, were only a person learning to grow amid your own limitations, pressures, and wounds. Do not use the wisdom you have today to condemn the person you were yesterday. I want you to open your heart, not so that you will chase frightening signs, but so that healing may enter. If memories of your mother have become clearer in recent days, if a song, a familiar fragrance, or an unexpected dream causes you to weep, you do not need to interpret it immediately as a warning. It may simply be the deepest part of you asking to be heard. Longing is not your enemy. Tears are not evidence of weakness. Sometimes, they are the way the heart cleanses what has been held inside for too long. Allow yourself to remember, but do not let memory become a chain. Let your mother's love become a shelter, and do not turn her departure into a dark room in which you imprison yourself. There is another truth I want you to know. Your mother does not want you to stop your life at the place where hers ended. She does not want you to miss joy because you believe happiness would betray your grief. She does not want you to reject new opportunities because you feel you are no longer worthy of peace. If she could sit before you for a single moment, perhaps she would not ask you to cry any longer. She would want to see you eating well, resting enough, caring for your health, stepping into the light, and allowing yourself to love again. She would want you to live a full and expansive life, not so that you would forget her, but so that the love she once gave you might continue producing goodness. Do not let anyone tell you that you must write a sentence, press a button, or perform a public action before your prayer can be heard. Heaven does not record your value through comments or followers. You do not need to prove your faith before a crowd in order to be loved. If you wish to speak an affirmation, speak it in freedom. I choose healing. I choose forgiveness. I choose to move forward without forgetting the love that nurtured me. Those words matter not because anyone else sees them, but because they mark a genuine decision within you. Mature faith is not born from the threat that you will miss a miracle. It grows from trust that goodness can still find you even when you are moving slowly. I also remind you that no moment of true love appears only once and then closes forever. Good doors do not slam shut because you failed to respond within a few seconds. What belongs to the light will not manipulate you through fear. When a message comes from peace, it gives you room to breathe, reflect, heal, and choose. Therefore, remain present with your emotions, but do not surrender your power to panic. Remember your mother, but also remember that you are still alive. Honor what she taught you while allowing yourself to write the chapters she did not have the opportunity to witness. If there were unresolved matters between you and your mother, you can begin with one very small act. Write a letter you do not need to send to anyone. Say everything you once kept hidden: the anger, the longing, the gratitude, the apology, and even the questions that have no answers. Then close the letter with forgiveness, not to deny what happened, but to release yourself from carrying the past as a sentence. Some wounds cannot change where they began, but you can change the way they continue living within you. You can choose to let sorrow become compassion. Let loss teach you to love while there is still time, and allow old silence to become the motivation that helps you speak necessary words to those who are still beside you. I, Michael, want you to understand that your name is not being spoken in the light because you are being judged, but because you are still seen during the days when you feel invisible. You have not been forgotten in your pain. You have not been separated from love simply because the one who gave birth to you is no longer present in the way you once knew. The most sacred thing you can do now is continue living with sincerity. Care for the relationships that remain. Take the initiative to speak words of love. Apologize when necessary. Embrace your family while you still can. And do not allow pride to steal precious conversations from you. That is how you transform your mother's love into a living legacy. Therefore, my beloved child, place your hand upon your chest and breathe slowly. Remember your mother with gratitude, but do not imprison yourself within what cannot be restored. The final message she wishes to give you is not one that should make you afraid, but one that sets you free. Live. Be at peace. Stop blaming yourself. I knew you loved me, even during the times when you did not know how to show it. You do not need to chase a moment that has passed, because sincere love always leaves a mark deep enough to accompany you. Carry that goodness into tomorrow. Let every kind decision you make become an answer. And when longing returns, do not see it as proof that you are becoming weak. See it as evidence that you were once deeply loved, and that this love is still teaching you to treat yourself with greater gentleness. My beloved child, the one who hurt you may still be living calmly, as though everything has disappeared into forgetfulness. But truth never ceases to exist, simply because the one who acted wrongly chooses to smile before the world. I know you have watched them continue walking, continue appearing within manufactured happiness, and continue speaking about their life as though they never left a wound in another person's heart. At times, this caused you to wonder whether justice was truly at work, whether what you endured was ever seen, or whether it had simply been covered by the dust of time. But I want you to understand that outward calm is not always evidence of inward peace, and heaven's silence does not mean the matter has been overlooked. Some movements are taking place beyond your sight. Some quiet arrangements are changing the direction of an entire journey, and some positions are being reassigned in ways your ordinary eyes cannot yet perceive. While you are being led away from the place that once caused you pain, the one who planted wrongdoing is also slowly approaching the moment when they must confront what they tried to hide. I do not raise you up so that you may stand above others, nor do I lead you to a higher place so that you may mock those who once wounded you. I lift you so that you may see that your worth never depended upon the way they treated you. I bring you out of the darkness of misunderstanding so that you will no longer exhaust yourself proving what has always been clear before me. For a long time you wanted to explain. You wanted everyone to know what truly happened. You wanted to correct every distorted word and protect your name from false stories. Yet the more you tried, the more exhausted you became, because those who do not wish to understand will always find another reason to doubt. Therefore, I taught you silence, not because you were weak, but because some battles are not won through words. When the time comes, truth will find its own path without your pressure, without your need to construct a courtroom, and without requiring you to lower yourself into arguments with people who have already decided to believe what is false. Remember this: a person who makes betrayal a habit rarely does it only once. The action may change its form, and the circumstances may be different, but the root within them will continue leading them down the same road unless they are willing to acknowledge it and change. The person who once exploited your trust will easily exploit the trust of someone else. The person who once used a secret you shared against you will eventually find another secret to use as a weapon. The person who once told half a story to make you appear guilty will use the same method when another relationship no longer serves their interests. This is not because you have cursed them, nor because I desire their failure, but because what remains unhealed in a person's character will continue producing the same results. A cracked vessel continues to leak even when placed in a different room. A heart that refuses to learn honesty will continue causing harm even beside a completely different person. For this reason, you do not need to return and warn everyone about them. I know there were moments when you wanted to say, "Be careful, because they once did this to me." Yet sometimes your warning would be interpreted as bitterness, while your silence allows their conduct to reveal itself more clearly. Time possesses a remarkable ability to remove masks that words cannot touch. A person may play the role of kindness for a while, maintain a flawless image before a crowd, and persuade others that they are always the victim. But no one can permanently maintain an identity that contradicts their true nature. Sooner or later, anger will emerge, greed will speak, control will reveal itself, and the behavior once used against you will be repeated before someone else. Then what you endured will no longer be regarded as an isolated story. The scattered pieces will begin to connect, and people will realize it was not a temporary misunderstanding, but a pattern that had continued for a long time. Perhaps that person will repeat the same mistake before someone who does not remain silent as you once did. That individual may ask questions, preserve evidence, speak at the proper time, or refuse to allow the matter to be buried. You do not need to wait for this with satisfaction, nor do you need to watch for the day it occurs. I only want you to know that hidden things cannot remain safe in darkness forever. When a behavior is repeated often enough, it becomes a witness against the one who created it. And when those around them begin looking back, they will remember you. They will remember the times you tried to remain calm, the way you left without destroying anyone, the signs they once ignored, and the words you never received the opportunity to finish. At that moment, your name will not be spoken with pity, but with the realization that you had already told the truth through the way you lived. I know that part of you still longs to hear an apology. You hope that one day the people who doubted you will return and admit they were wrong. You hope those who stood beside the betrayer will understand how alone you felt while carrying a burden that never belonged to you. These desires do not make you weak. They simply reveal how deeply you were wounded. However, I do not want your peace to remain suspended upon another person's confession. Some people will recognize their wrongdoing, but will not possess enough humility to speak. Some will know the truth but remain silent because of shame. Some will return, while others will avoid you because they do not want to confront the way they treated you. You do not need every apology in order to heal. The greatest vindication does not come when everyone agrees that you were right. It comes when you no longer allow their misunderstanding to determine the way you see yourself. Therefore, when the new door opens, walk through it without carrying the need to prove the past. Do not use your success as an act of revenge. Do not display your joy merely to make someone regret what they did. Do not turn your elevation into a performance directed toward those who once looked down upon you. What I give you must become a place where you live in peace, not a stage upon which you continue fighting old shadows. A truly free person no longer looks back to see whether the one who hurt them is watching. A truly restored person does not need another person's jealousy in order to know their worth. I am teaching you to walk with dignity, receive goodness with gratitude, and allow the results of your life to speak in place of every defense. Do not allow betrayal to make you suspicious of everyone. Not everyone who approaches you carries harmful intentions, and not every delay is a sign of deception. What you need is not a wall so high that no one can enter, but a guarded door protected by discernment. Observe consistency instead of listening only to promises. Allow time to reveal character before giving away all your trust. Pay attention to how a person treats those who are no longer useful to them, because that is often a picture of how they will treat you when circumstances change. Your kindness is still a gift, but from now on, let wisdom accompany it. You can love without ignoring every warning sign. You can forgive without restoring intimacy. You can wish someone well while still maintaining a safe distance for yourself. When truth begins to speak, keep your heart quiet. Do not add fuel to the fire. Do not recount every detail, simply because people are finally willing to listen. If you need to speak, speak calmly and say only what is necessary. If you do not need to speak, let your silence become the mark of someone who has matured beyond the event. I do not want you to win an argument, but lose the tenderness within your heart. I want you to emerge from all of this with clean hands, a clear voice, and a heart that has not been distorted by what others did. Your calmness will help people recognize that you are not seeking revenge. You are simply choosing not to continue living under the power of a false story. My beloved child, what happened to you was not the end of your honor, your journey, or your future. The betrayer may believe they have escaped the consequences, but consequences do not always arrive with great noise. Sometimes they begin with the gradual loss of trust, with one relationship after another falling apart, and with the anxiety that every old story may someday be connected. Your restoration also does not need to appear in one brilliant moment. It may begin on the morning when you awaken and no longer think about them, the first time you hear their name without trembling inside, or the day you enter a new relationship without carrying the fear of the past. That is when you will know, I have brought you out of the old place. Continue to live uprightly. Continue to speak sincerely, and continue protecting the peace I have placed within you. Truth does not need you to chase after it in order to protect it. At the proper time, it will rise, call every matter by its true name, and return to you what you once believed had been lost forever. You need to understand that some truths become clear only after a person's life has ended, because while living within limited days, people often hide too much behind silence. Fears they never dare to speak, love expressed only through quiet sacrifice, and secrets kept because they are afraid of causing pain to the ones they love. Today, I have come to remind you of the love of the mother who once held you in gentle arms and continued carrying your image in her deepest prayers. Her departure cannot erase that bond of love, nor can it make meaningless the things she once longed to tell you. Perhaps while she was still beside you, she did not know where to begin. Perhaps she waited many times for the right moment, only for time to pass more quickly than she expected. Therefore, what remains is not condemnation, but a message filled with mercy. Do not continue walking under the belief that you were forgotten, because sincere love never disappears, merely because your eyes can no longer see the person who gave it. I want you to listen calmly, not so that you will fall into fear or begin distrusting everyone around you. What your mother wants you to understand is that the road ahead requires discernment. Not every extended hand truly wishes to help, and not every gentle word carries good intentions. Some people approach you because they genuinely care, but others study your weaknesses in order to control, exploit, or lead you away from the right path. Yet I am not teaching you to become cold, nor do I want you to close your heart to every relationship. I am simply reminding you to observe long-term actions rather than beautiful promises made in a single moment. A sincere person will respect your boundaries, will not make you feel guilty when you say no, will not pressure you to decide in panic, and will not rejoice when you lose confidence in yourself. By contrast, someone with impure intentions often uses urgency, flattery, or pity to persuade you to surrender your ability to choose. Remain gentle, but do not abandon discernment. Be generous, but do not allow your goodness to become an open door through which the same wound returns. A blessing is drawing near to you, but that does not mean you must live in tension, fearing that one small mistake will destroy everything. What has truly been prepared for you is not so fragile that it will disappear simply because you need time to think. Even so, careless decisions can force you to take a longer road or place you in situations you never needed to enter. For this reason, your mother wants you to slow down before important choices, especially those involving money, work, housing, relationships, or proposals that sound too perfect. Do not let lack drive you to grasp everything in desperation. Do not let your longing to be loved cause you to accept closeness that brings no peace. The miracle prepared for you is not only an unexpected event from outside. It is also the moment when you become courageous enough to refuse what once wounded you, wise enough not to return to a door that repeatedly exhausted you, and trusting enough to wait for something purer. When you keep your mind clear, what belongs to you will come in a way that does not require you to surrender your dignity. I have seen the nights when your mother remained awake because of worry. There were fears she did not share because she wanted you to grow without carrying the additional weight of her burdens. She once sat in silence, speaking your name with all tenderness, asking that you be protected from misguided paths, insincere people, and the days when you felt you had no strength left to continue. Those prayers were not sounds that fell into emptiness and disappeared. Love offered sincerely always leaves a lasting mark. It becomes support within memory, within lessons, and within the unexpected strength you discover at the very moment you believe you cannot rise. You may never have known how often she cried for you, not because you were the source of her pain, but because she wanted you to live more peacefully than she had. She wished to stand between you and every danger. She wanted to exchange her own sacrifice for a gentler road for you. Although she could not choose on your behalf, that love remains a reminder that you have never been completely alone on this journey. My beloved child, the season in which you wandered through anger and self-blame must come to an end. I know there were times when you looked back and asked why you made certain choices, why you did not recognize the truth sooner, or why others could treat you with such coldness. Again and again, you turned the mistakes of others into evidence against your own worth. When you were abandoned, you assumed you were not worth staying for. When you were deceived, you concluded that you were not good enough to receive honesty. When your prayers were not answered in the way you expected, you believed heaven no longer heard your voice. But I tell you that those conclusions are not the truth. Another person's inability to value you does not make you less precious. Delay does not mean rejection. A closed door is not a declaration that you are unworthy. Sometimes it is protection from something you are not yet able to see completely. Your mother never forgot you, even during the days when she felt saddened by your choices or did not know how to draw near to you. Her love may have been imperfect. Sometimes it was expressed through excessive worry, through reminders that irritated you, or through silence you once misunderstood as coldness. Yet beneath the limitations of being human, she still wanted you to have peace, to be respected, and to live a life no longer bound by the past. If words remained unspoken between you and her, you do not need to carry them as a debt. Forgive the things she could not do perfectly. And also forgive yourself for the times you were not patient enough, did not understand enough, or did not return soon enough. Love does not require you to preserve guilt forever, as proof that you still remember. The most beautiful way to honor someone who loved you is to live better, care for yourself, choose what is good, and stop harming yourself over what cannot be changed. I, Michael, am reminding you that protection does not come only through mysterious signs. It also comes through the wisdom you have been given to recognize what is right. When a person repeatedly leaves you confused, pay attention. When an opportunity requires you to hide the truth, step back. When a relationship gradually draws you away from good values, be courageous enough to establish boundaries. Do not call chaos passion. Do not call control concern. Do not call the endless need to beg for respect love. Your mother wants you to remember that you were not born to become a place where others pour out their instability. You can be compassionate without remaining where you are continually drained. You can pray for someone's well-being while choosing to leave unhealthy closeness. This is not selfishness. It is maturity learned through many tears. Stop doubting your worth, because your value is not determined by possessions, status, age, appearance, or the approval of the world. You are precious, because within you is the capacity to love, rise again, change, and continue bringing goodness into places where darkness once existed. The nights when you wept in silence were not meaningless. The words you cried out in desperation were heard, even when the answer came by a path different from the one you expected. Some prayers are not answered by keeping someone beside you, but by giving you the strength to continue living after they leave. Some desires are not fulfilled immediately because you must first be prepared so that, when you receive them, you do not lose yourself. The hand of the Most High is still guiding you, not by removing every trial, but by shaping you into someone who can no longer be easily defeated by them. Therefore, move forward in peace. Your mother does not want you to spend the rest of your life standing beside the doorway of memory. She wants you to open the curtains and welcome the light. Care for your health, cherish sincere people, begin again with the plans you abandoned, and believe that joy still has the right to find you. When you laugh, you do not betray your grief. When you love again, you do not erase the one who has gone. When you succeed, you do not leave the past behind. You allow the sacrifices once made for you to bear good fruit. I will walk beside you through the choices ahead, reminding you to keep your heart gentle while your eyes remain awake. Receive this final message like a tender embrace from your mother. You have always been loved, you are still being protected, and you no longer need to live as though you must prove that you are worthy. Rise, my beloved child, because the road ahead is not being written by loss, but by healing, wisdom, and a new beginning quietly opening before you.